Hey, everybody, welcome back. It is Steve Fretzen. And yes, you guessed it. This is the Be That Lawyer podcast. We are here twice a week to help you be that lawyer, confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker. And boy, oh boy, I love this show and I love interviewing and meeting new people and great people. And Joe, I'm just really, really excited about the conversation today. It's not one that we typically have on this show. So I'm really looking forward to talking about it. And I'm not going to let people know what it is. I'm going to keep them hanging. It's called a nail biter or a cliffhanger. But welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. Glad to be here, man.
Yeah, yeah. And let's jump in right away with our quote of the show is a ship in safe. I already screwed that up. Here we go. A ship in the harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are built for. So welcome to the show and tell us a little bit about why you're giving me that John Shedd quote of the day.
Yeah, I love this quote. I think we all have our talents and our gifts to use in life. And it's easy sometimes to just sit in the mundane and the routine and just keep doing life that way. But it's a lot of fun to get out and go on an adventure and
Yeah.
take that ship out of the harbor and test those talents and test those gifts and challenge yourself. And so that's a quote I look to, and I really like it.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, the Shedd Aquarium is in Chicago. So if you come to Chicago, that's one of our tourist attractions. So you can hear the quote over and over in your head as you look at fish and maybe a couple sharks. Awesome, man. Well, Joe Jones, great to have you. You are the CEO and co-founder of Stream Settle. And give us a little bit of how you came to be, man. I'd love to have you share that with everybody.
Yeah, so I started my legal career in the Marine Corps. I did various roles, but most of my time was spent as a criminal defense attorney in the Marines. Loved it. What an absolute great job for a new attorney. You get lots of trial experience and all that. So that was really good for me. I got out and got into the PI world. Went to work with a firm and ran their Houston office, and then eventually, after being with them for about 6 years, wanted to start my own firm, and I got that itch, and so I did that, and then we started Stream Settle. I had a shower idea while I was working up a trucking case that I couldn't ignore, so my wife and I co-founded Stream Settle, and that's now my full-time gig. We kind of referred all the cases out of our firm, and that's what we're doing full time
That's
now.
it. That's it. And tell us what Stream Settle does. Let's just get that out of the way too.
Yeah, so we're a triple blind deal detector. We do what we call threshold testing. So typically, you get a big demand from the plaintiff side and a really insultingly low offer from the insurance side. And the parties just conclude that they're too far apart. And then they spend a bunch of money and a bunch of time working up a case. And then it ultimately settles, before trial. That's the typical case timeline. Stream settle before each cash burn phase. So before you file a lawsuit, before you do depots, we have the parties come in on stream settle, put their true threshold number, not their exaggerated number, their threshold number. And if there's an overlap, so if the obligor's number is at least as much as the obligee's number, we've got an overlap and we've got a binding settlement. If not, nothing's revealed, no fees are charged, and the parties go on to that next phase of the case.
Yeah. Really, really cool stuff. And, I guess, I want to start off. What was it like for you transitioning from working at a PI firm to starting your own? Like, what were your fears? What were your concerns? And ultimately, how did you get over the hump of making that happen?
So I'm loyal to a fault, and one of my biggest things was just like I felt terrible even wanting to leave, right? But I think as an entrepreneur, like by heart, I think I am. There's that growing itch that just keeps developing, and so eventually just had to be honest with my partners and talk to them about that. And luckily, I had very understanding and gracious partners, and so we figured out a fair deal for me to part ways. And then going into starting my own firm, there was a lot of things that I had been taking for granted being as with a firm, right? So marketing and all the administrative stuff and payroll, HR, all that good stuff. So those were like, I needed to learn that really quickly, and was able to now with just so much information being available, especially, now you've got AI and all that to help you too. But There's so much information and so many tools and resources out there to help you get going. And so, yeah, we got going and it was great. Really, really loved being on my own and having that autonomy, of my own firm.
Was part of the ability for you to go out on your own the fact that you had some cases to take with you, that you had some revenue and you had some clients that, so it wasn't like you were just starting from nothing. Like someone that leaves a general counsel role, starts their own shop and has to like literally start from nothing. You were not in that place. So it was risk, but it was not that risky.
It did not feel that risky. Yeah, so that's true for me. I brought quite a few cases with me. It was all the cases that I had originated at my firm. I took them with me, and so I had a good foundation to start on.
Okay. But it doesn't make it less scary in a number of ways, in the sense that you don't have experience in the marketing of a firm, the administrative aspect of the firm, the finance, and all the processes that have to be established, the hiring. So how did you get over that hump? Because that seems for most lawyers like the biggest challenge. Like, I've got all this support and now I don't.
So I only had one employee. I hired a paralegal, and I just looked for, I didn't want to recreate the wheel. I looked for tools that made those things easy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I got a payroll company, and I think they charged me $15 a month. And even though, my firm is not active, we're not taking on cases right now, I still use it to make sure my taxes get paid and all that, because I never figured out how to do that on my own. So
Yeah.
I think there's just so many tools out there that you can get that aren't very expensive, that take a huge headache away from you.
Yeah.
Scheduling was a big one. And I use Calendly. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And
The
it
best.
solves so much of my problems. I mean, getting those calls from clients constantly like, hey, I didn't get an update. Well, I just sent out a text message to every single client I had. And I said, anytime you want to talk with me, here's the way to do it. Just click here, schedule a meeting. And that just made the phone stop ringing. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly. And then when I was having client meetings, I was able to be prepared for that meeting. I knew it was coming up. And so I had, their file. I just reviewed their file. And so that made life a lot easier.
If you're not taking a note on that, everybody, you're making a big mistake. I cannot speak highly enough about auto schedulers, and the argument that my friend Barb gave me, or a number of other people have given me, like, oh, you're giving the client now the job of having to deal with your calendar, and like you're giving them the work. Not the case. I mean, I think what we're looking for is ease of use on both ends. And the back and forth that accompanies, and the fact that you're not taking these phone calls out of thin air, everybody wins in that scenario.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I found that my clients liked it. Like, I mean, they were able to schedule meetings very easily. These systems are very user friendly.
Yeah.
So it's a plus on both sides.
And how did you know that you were an entrepreneur? Is that something you knew from childhood up, or is that something you figured out when you were at the PI firm?
So the my first entrepreneurial experience I would say that I can remember is when I was 5, and I was making like those little fold fan, like you take a piece of paper and you fold it 15 times and it makes a fan.
Yeah.
And I was trying to sell them to neighbors and like anyone that would buy them, right, for $1. And then, started my lawn business at 10 and borrowed
Okay.
money from my dad to buy my equipment. So I think I had that itch early on. And then, yeah, it's where
But
we are
do you
now.
think, like, is it something we're either born with or that we come up with? Like, do you think that there are lawyers, or do you know of lawyers who don't have that entrepreneurial sort of spirit, but that really would be the best way for them to go? And and if so, like, is that, I mean, it's like rainmakers. Are they made or are they born? And I contend that they're definitely made. And I think entrepreneurship may be the same way. Hey everybody, do you ever wonder why top executives and athletes are so successful? It's typically because they have a coach, someone that is looking at them from the outside to identify their gaps, identify their potential. That's what I do. I'm Steve Fretson, and I'm here to help you be that lawyer. If you're interested in a free consultation, click the link below and we'll get together and we'll identify where you can make improvements to be that lawyer.
Yeah, I think especially in the legal industry, I think we have so much proven demand, right? You're not coming into an industry where you're trying to create demand and shake up the world. Like, there's proven demand, there's proven formulas on how to bring in the business. So if you're a good lawyer and you want to work for yourself, there's definitely a way to do it. And I think that's regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur by heart or you're just an aspiring entrepreneur that really wants to just have some more flexibility in their life.
Yeah. I mean, I would add, and this is selfishly adding this, that because this is what I do every day, but the idea that you're able to get the confidence and the systems to generate business and feel that you can push a button and get business in the door on a regular basis and not have the ups and the downs that accompany most lawyers at firms. That confidence, I think, drives in many cases people's, ability to move firms or ability to move out on their own because they're not concerned about where's the money coming, where's the business or money coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the biggest fear, right? Is like, oh, what if no one's calling? What if no
Yeah,
one
the phone
knocks?
stops. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
But if you're, yeah, and I think at the end of the day, networking is anybody can go network, and it's more of a challenge for some people than it is others. But everyone's a little bit nervous walking into a room where they don't know anybody,
Yeah,
and but getting out and meeting people and building those referral relationships is always a great way to keep the phone ringing.
yeah. And there's also, I mean, an element of risk, and lawyers are notoriously risk averse. And to start your own firm, to jump ship and move to an unknown firm, to stop being a lawyer at a firm and starting a legal tech company. I mean, whatever it is, there's risk involved in that. How do you sort of recognize and deal with risk and sort of weigh that out? Because I think that's a big problem is like the risk might just seem too high for many lawyers to make the kinds of moves that you've made.
So the way that I've done it, the way that makes me comfortable in relatively comfortable in a very terrifying spot is to have, contingent plans, right? So I have my plan A, I have my plan B, I have my plan C. Um, Even when a small story, when we started Stream Settle, it is terrifying, right? Because this is something where we're creating demand, we're shaking it up. And we knew that success is far out. It's not going to be immediate, right? Um, but when we did that, my son was watching YouTube and he had like a microgreens YouTube video came on where you can make $10,000 a month selling micro. So I was like, okay, well, that's my plan F, right? Like, I mean, just to have, and so I learned how to grow microgreens as a hobby and just have it as a backup. Luckily that we never needed, but it was, I think it's good to have a lot of contingent plans and something to fall back on. And that gave me the confidence to be able to risk it all.
Well, you also may have, and tell me if I'm wrong, transitioned over a period of time. Like you kept the firm, started the other company, and then transitioned once you got momentum or realized this is working, or that I know that this will work, and then started to unload is that the case that's how it happened?
Yeah, that's correct. So my plan A was build a company over a course of like, a few months and then sell it for $1 billion. And that did not happen.
That hasn't
Right?
happened already? Okay.
So that did not work. And I was like, but I'm gonna stay a trial lawyer. I'm gonna keep doing that. And then I realized how demanding it is to start a tech company and
Yeah.
how much of my time was needed just on every aspect of the design and the development and all that. And so at some point I had to make that decision of, hey, I'm gonna refer everything out and just focus on Stream Settle.
Yeah. So what would you then advise lawyers to do who are interested in a legal tech startup or interested in, getting involved in other businesses so that they have a side gig or that they have maybe something that might turn into a full gig?
Yeah, I mean, my advice is plan a lot first, and do some reflection. And if there's a feeling in you that is growing, that you want to do this, and it is getting more and more, taxing on you that you're not doing it, then that's probably something you need to do. That's probably a calling that you have, an adventure at the very least that you should go on, and maybe your purpose. And so I suggest to listen to your gut.
Mhm.
And everyone is scared. I think that everyone is scared to start a venture. It is terrifying. But if you have that in you, and it's really is, and especially if the status quo is feeling less and less fun in your life and less purposeful and meaningful, then that might be a really good sign
Yeah.
that this is what you're supposed to do.
I also like the idea of and what you did and what I did too was get a little bit of evidence that something's working. And let's start off with your the transition that were in your own law firm, and then you didn't just like close it down and start this up, right? You had a lag period to see, is this going to work? Is this something that there's a need for, a market for? And once you, I think, got some evidence around that made it easier to make that transition. And I think people need to realize it's not like you just like stop doing something and start doing the other, cold turkey necessarily. There's a ability to maybe hang on to something. Like, I didn't just become the lawyer guy overnight. I actually took about a year and a half to work with lawyers in addition to other businesses that I've been in 50 industries, to get that evidence and that proof and the belief that there was a market, and that I could make a real dent in the community and make a real difference in the community. And then I started turning away the financial planner, turning away the website company, and all the different things I was doing. So I think that takes away some of the risky and the scariness of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can be done. Market research, customer discovery. You can start doing those things before you shut down your primary gig, right? Yeah. And you start learning more about the company. We just went through an accelerator up in Des Moines, and I think most of the people in the cohort still had their full-time jobs, right? So they're still working their jobs while they're developing these companies, until they have enough verification from the market and whatnot that, yeah, this is a risk that we can jump, head first into.
I mean, another element of risk that I'd like you to talk about is coming up with a concept, and how do you validate a concept when you think, like, I have a great idea. I just came up with, someone's going to steal this, but and maybe I'm sure it exists, but I work with a company, my podcast, Turnkey Podcast. What about turnkey law firm? I could do the sales and marketing. I bring in someone with the software. I bring in someone that can help with the back end, right, for hiring a VA or whatever, just like a turnkey solution to get people into a solo. I just came up with that when you were talking about it. Yeah. So, but for me to do that, I'm not going to do that because I'm busy with my business, but but how would I validate that out? What are some steps that you went through to make sure that you were going in the right direction?
So there's a great book called The Mom Test that is so great for idea verification. And the name comes from, or validation, the name comes from, if you talk to your mom about your good idea, she's going to tell you that it's a good idea, right? If you're like, hey, mom, I'm thinking about building this, she's going to say, that's wonderful, honey. You should definitely
I noticed you didn't say the dad test. My lawyer father, he made a whole career out of crapping all over any idea I had. I mean, he was the master of devil's advocacy. I mean, that was his job. He was great at it. Anyway,
that's
sorry.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And so I think when you're talking to people about this idea, and I've had this happen to me even after I read the book. I had someone, tell me their app idea. They're like, this is an app I want to build. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, that's never going to work. But how do you tell someone that? How do you tell someone who is so excited about their idea that that you really think it's terrible? So the mom test, the whole fundamental formula behind it is, don't pitch your idea. Tell them, hey, do you ever use this? So for example, I think one of the examples in the book is he's going to build a grocery store checklist app or grocery store list app. And instead of going, hey, mom, I'm thinking about building a grocery list app, instead say, mom, how do you currently keep track of your groceries? Will you make a list? Okay. What if that list was on your phone? Would you use that if there was an app that did that? And you go through the questions like that. That way she's not rejecting you. She's rejecting your idea. And of course you want to talk to more than one person. But you talk to 100 potential customers. And if you do it with that formula where you're not pitching it as your idea, but you're just trying to learn if they would use something like that, you're going to have a lot more reliable data than if you didn't.
If you're a rainmaker and you're feeling like you're on an island, you don't have anyone to share your ideas with, solve problems with, you're going to want to check out my Rainmaker Roundtables. Click the link below and learn more. So you're doing some data research. You're making sure that the market's there, making sure that the idea is valid, and the way that you're running it across isn't just, hey, what do you think of this? You're really taking the time to find out what people are actually doing. And by the way, I'm the jackass walking around Costco with a piece of paper,
Yeah.
for sure. Or
Yeah,
or an
I
image
still like it
or a
too.
picture of the, even worse, a picture of the paper on my phone, which I have to keep refreshing every 2 minutes because it goes black on me or whatever. Um, that's great. So I think that's really important. And by the way, are there other people doing it? Is it a unique idea that no one's doing? And if that's the case, well, why is that? Is that something I should be concerned about? Or is it flooded with, thousands of people doing it? And that should also be a cause for concern. So I think there's a balance you got to look for there as well.
Yeah, and those are things that you might even lose if you're following the wrong formula, because people are even afraid to tell you about a competitor that they know of,
Mm,
right? So they might already use the grocery store list app that someone else made, but they're afraid to tell you because it's your idea. But if you pitch it that way, hey, would you use it? Yeah, actually, I already use one, and now you've just learned about a potential competitor.
mm.
So
Wow, that's great.
lots of benefits.
Great on a number of levels. Is there any difference in the nature of risk and path from going out and starting a law firm versus a startup legal tech company? How is that different? Because I think there's people that may be weighing out both options. I think lawyers really love to stay in legal if they can.
Yeah, I mean, the what's great about lawyer is, I mean, being a lawyer and starting your own shop, I think, is that you do have that proven demand. You have people that are going to have cases that accrue today and tomorrow and yesterday, and you've got, just a lot of potential market out there. With a legal tech company, one issue is there already proven demand? For our company, there was not. So that's a huge, huge hurdle. And just getting past that right there, I think is a big one. But then the second one is just the longevity of it. Um, when I when I started my law firm, or when people start their law firms, I mean, this could apply to anyone, but on those cases, you might be taking, PI cases that you won't see a dollar on for 2 years or 3 years, but you can also do hourly work. You can also find stuff that will keep the lights on and the doors open. In a tech company, you've got a long road of development ahead of you, and that's after the market research, and you got to build your MVP. Then you've got to find a way to create the demand. There's a lot of barriers and hurdles, but it's been fun, and
Yeah.
just getting through those.
Yeah. A big concern I have is I was at the legal tech show in Chicago a few months ago or whatever it was. And the, it seemed like a lot of AI companies. And I get it. Like now's the time to jump in AI. Now's the time to lean into it. But in 6 months, is your business even relevant? Like the things that you're doing in AI, either can be copied or it could be replicated or it could be totally obsolete. So are you seeing any of that or concerned about any of that for people that dive into that pond?
That's funny. So like when our company was first starting, I think that's when Chat GPT was just now, breaking into the market, and it was the talk of the town at every
Yeah.
conference. Like, every conference we go to, everything is about AI. Venture capitalists are writing huge, huge checks to AI companies just because they have AI in their name. I mean, and at that point I was like, man, I wish we had some AI
Yeah.
element, because that
I'm
would
thinking
be.
about Frets and AI just to get some cash in the door.
Right. We have a AI chat bot, we could change.
Yeah, just put that on the cover of your label.
But yeah, now we're starting, and maybe you're feeling this too, but now it starts to be, I think people are kind of, um, they've heard so much about AI, and they use it the way that they're using it. And I mean, what a wonderful tool that it
Hmm.
is. Um, but I think people are starting to go, okay, yeah, you're not another AI company, right? And we've had customers say that as they approach our booth, like, not AI. Yes. Nope, we're not AI. So that's, it can be a positive now. Um, but man, is AI exciting? I mean,
Yeah. No, it
it's
is.
awesome.
It is. And I don't talk about it very often, but it's a huge part of what helped me create the book that you see behind me in this Be That Lawyer 101 Top Rainmakers was the ability for AI to help with the right prompting to take these amazing rainmaker interviews and truncate them down into their essence of the value. Like, what's the value of what this rainmaker's saying, or Joe, what you're saying? I love the idea that I can take that and not have to edit it by hand, but just help me create something that I've already created. It's not from nothing, but it's taking so much time and effort off the table. Just doing what it does. So Very cool. Very cool. Let me ask you this, kind of a little bit winding down. I mean, how did the Marines sort of help you in your entrepreneurial endeavors? I mean, what's a lesson from being in the Marines that you found really tracks well with your life and the way that the direction you're going?
Uh, I think one of the biggest things the Marines gave me is grit. I mean, I had grit from growing up. You know, I played football, I was an athlete and all that. But having grown men scream at you for 10 weeks, you know, and waking up at 5 in the morning and yeah, I mean, it was OCS was really tough. TBS was really tough. Um, the leadership training that I got from the Marines was just amazingly invaluable. It's where I learned service-based leadership. I think that's huge, you know, to lead, to be a servant to your followers and not like demanding like a king, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it gave me a lot, and made me the man that I am today
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I mean, I was never in the Marines, but I am raising a teenager. So I don't know if we should compare that as how I'm developing thick skin and grit, but
I'm
that's
raising one too. I'm
all
with
right. So, but yeah, easier or harder than the Marines? That's, that remains to be seen maybe, but mine's going off to college in the fall and we'll see how much grit he has with that. Let's wrap up with our newish segment, Joe, called Joe's Big Mistake. What is something in your career that went backwards on you and you had to find your way through, and it's a great lesson to share with the folks listening?
Yeah. So, I think one of the things that really got me that stands out is a trial loss that I had. And it was on a case that I cared more about than any other case that I ever litigated. And we tried that case and lost. And it was like unbelievable to
Yeah.
me and shocking to my soul,
Took the
right?
wind right out of you.
It did.
Yeah.
And I mean, in retrospect, I just learned so much about myself through that process. I learned so much about or how to be a better lawyer, how to be a more effective lawyer. I don't know if there's anything I could have done to change the outcome of that, but I know for a fact that my client left that experience not hating me, but loving me for all that I tried to do, right?
Hmm.
And so I think even with our losses, there's so much to be gained. I don't think there's a better CLE in the world than losing a trial.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you just
I
learn
mean,
so
the
much.
mistakes that that happen, the losses that happen, and that ultimately, I think you'd agree, defines us as who we are and who we'll become. It's not the wins.
I agree. I
Yeah.
absolutely agree.
Yeah. Well, really fantastic. And let's take a moment and thank our wonderful sponsors, of course, Rankings.io and PimCon. Now, here's an announcement no one knows. I am going to be presenting at PimCon this year, the Personal Injury Mastermind conference in Arizona, in Scottsdale, first class experience, and I'll be on stage talking about podcasting. So go figure. Thank you, Chris Dreyer, for inviting me for that. And of course, the Law Her podcast. You want to check out Sonia with that. If people want to get in touch with you, Joe, they want to hear, I mean, there are PI attorneys listening saying, hey, that a stream settle sounds pretty sweet. What are the best ways for them to reach you and learn more about your tech?
So you can go to streamsettle.com and create an account. There's no cost or anything up front. If you do that, I will definitely be reaching out to you to welcome you to our platform. You're always welcome to email me at jjones@streamsettle.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Joe Jones. So love to connect.
Yeah. You're like a young Matt Damon in The Rainmaker. Do you ever see that movie, The Rainmaker?
I love the Rainmaker.
Oh,
That's a great.
and you look at that movie and you're like, hey, I could be that. I could be in this
It
movie.
was it was one of the things like when I was younger that I was like, I'd really like to do
Yeah, right. I
that.
mean, yeah, it's probably my favorite John Grisham. I've probably watched it 3 times as many as The Firm and then the other ones he's done. They're all good. But that one, for some reason, really struck a chord with me. Didn't get me into being a lawyer, but that's okay. Listen, man, thank you so much. This was great. And I feel like talking about entrepreneurship, talking about weighing risk and really thinking about pulling out the entrepreneurial spirit that lawyers have, that they may have inside of them, is something truly special. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your wisdom, and just having an open and frank conversation about it. It was really, really good time.
Thanks, Steve. Love being here, man.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. And hey, thank you everybody for hanging out with Joe and I for a little bit. And really put this to give some thought to this, because you may be in a situation where it seems untenable, it seems mundane, it seems like maybe this is not what you were meant to be doing. And you get multiple chapters in your life, and don't just suffer in silence. I think you can take some with the right people in your corner. And I know, like Joe, like your wife is your partner, right?
That's right.
We didn't even talk about that's a whole other episode, maybe.
I'm down. I'm down.
All right. I know if I had to work with my wife, it might be a murder suicide. But anyway, love you, honey. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Take care. Be safe. Be well. We will talk again soon. Are you ever curious what's really holding you back in business development? Sometimes it's hard to see the label from the inside of the bottle. I'm Steve Fretzin, and I can help you grow your book of business. Get a 30-minute free consultation with me. We'll identify gaps, identify your potential, and let's take it to the next level so you can be that lawyer. Click the link below for a free consultation.